I just finished a game that made me sit in silence for 10 minutes after the credits rolled. Not because it was fun, not because I felt satisfied, but because it showed me a piece of history I never learned in school, and made me realize how those same systems still exist today. 1998. The Toll Keeper Story is a game about checking vehicles at a toll booth, but it's really about surviving under a regime that doesn't care if you live or die. Let me explain why this Indonesian indie game hit harder than I expected. 1998. The Tollkeeper Story is a narrative simulation game set in the fictional Southeast Asian country of Janapa during political turmoil. You play as Dewi, a pregnant woman working as a toll gate guard, trying to survive for the sake of your unborn baby. The setup sounds simple: check vehicles, collect tolls, stamp papers, repeat. If you've played Papers, Please or That's Not My Neighbor, you know this genre: border inspection gameplay. But this game uses that familiar loop to tell a story about ordinary people crushed by systems beyond their control. Set during Indonesia's 1998 reform era, inspired by the devastating Asian financial crisis that destroyed 30 years of Southeast Asian prosperity. Currency devalued, prices skyrocketed, unrest erupted. And you're just trying to afford food and rent while pregnant, dealing with a corrupt system, a missing husband, and moral choices that have no right answers. The game takes about 2 to 3 hours to complete with multiple endings. Short, but every minute carries weight. What makes this special are the small details most games would skip. You can turn on a fan, play songs on the radio cassette, give your own money to drivers who can't afford tolls, overcharge people if you want. These aren't told to you, you discover them. And they matter. The moral choices are constant: follow orders and refuse passage to someone who can't pay, or help them with your own savings knowing you need that money for your baby's medication. Some people you help might repay you later, most won't. There's no right answer, only the guilt of what you chose. This is narrative driven. The story is the main focus. Honestly, it's heartwarming yet heartbreaking. Every evening, Dewey writes in her diary about her moral conflicts. The writing mechanic shows her crossing out words, tears falling on pages. You can add accessories and entries, small details that make her feel real. You learn about 1998 through NPCs who pass through: bus drivers, tone-deaf rich women, Santi who you bond with, lecturers, your landlady's husband. At first they're hard to remember, but by day 6 or 7, you know them. Their stories paint the bigger picture of what was happening in Indonesia during this crisis. The game shows how hard life was. Dewey struggling to afford food, writing about needing money while facing moral conflicts. Her idealistic husband who gets implicated in the movement and disappears, having the family income. Your superior constantly harassing you through letters, trying to sexually assault you. Protesters seizing all available medication so you can only get your baby's medicine from uprising supporters. The art style is cartoonish but dark, fitting the theme. Every day brings small environmental changes. Toll booth goes from clean to dirty, sky darkens, graffiti appears, the oppression becomes visual. When I finished, I didn't feel proud, I felt hollow. Because the systems this game depicts, corruption, powerlessness, survival at any cost, they're not just history. You see echoes of them everywhere, even today. That realization hits harder than any game over screen. Let me be honest about the flaws. The autosave system is weird. Saves every day but limited to 5 slots, so you can only go back to day 11 of 15. Want different endings? Start from the beginning. No manual saves. Some dialogue feels forced, making it sound unnatural. There are typos in the localization. Conversations with passersby are easily missable because you have to sacrifice vehicle processing time to read them. Audio mixing issues: when Dewey reads her diary aloud, background music overpowers her voice. Some BGM tracks are too sharp, trying to capture that 90s radio feel. The ending feels abrupt. One moment, Dewey writes a letter with voice acting that only appears once, and I thought that was the ending. The actual ending came suddenly. Some diary entries don't match gameplay choices. It says Dewey took money that wasn't hers, when I didn't do that. There's also a controversial design choice. The game seems directional. Supporting the uprising leads to good endings. Following orders leads to bad endings. Maybe we can call this political brainwashing. Others say it's showing historical reality. The game doesn't hide its perspective on this period of Indonesian history. After completing this, my verdict is must play. Not because it's fun, but because it's important. This is a game that shows ordinary people as specks of dust in a turbulent world. It uses simple, toll booth mechanics to make you experience systemic oppression, moral dilemmas with no right answers, and the weight of being powerless in the face of historical forces. The gameplay is simple but smart, the story is fitting and full of discoverable details. The art captures the darkness of that era in Indonesian history, and despite its flaws, abrupt ending, audio issues, strange save system, this game achieves something rare. It makes you sit in silence after finishing, thinking about systems of power and how they crush ordinary people. 4 stars out of 5. The missing star is for polish. But for the experience and the historical perspective, absolutely worth your time and $5.